All right, if you have been tuning in to Washington Watch over the past few years, there's no doubt that you recall a case that we've been following for quite some time. It pits a church in San Jose, California against government officials who want to punish the church for holding large maskless gatherings during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, that case may very well be headed now to the U.S. Supreme Court, which recently received a formal request to intervene. And here now to discuss this is Robert Tyler. He's the president and chief counsel of Advocates for Faith and Freedom. He has represented Calvary Chapel senior pastor Mike McClure in this whole case. Bob, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thank you for joining me.
Good to be with you again, Jody. Thank you for having us and presenting this case, which is so important.
It really is extremely important. So we probably have some who are watching, listening right now, who may not really know the details of this. So why don't we start there? If you would, just give us some of the initial details of the case regarding Calvary Chapel, San Jose, and why was the church targeted to start with?
Well, 5 years ago, it's hard to believe that it's been 5 years, but let's not forget that 5 years ago we were in lockdown, particularly here in California. The Californians were told you can't go to church, you can't worship, you can't sit down in a service, you can't sing, you can't raise your hands, you can't lay your hands on people, you can't take communion, you can't be baptized. These were things that were going on in California. In this month, 5 years ago, Pastor Mike McClure and the church had a restraining order that we were fighting off. Pastor Mike was being brought up on contempt charges in December and again in January 5 years ago. And so we fought, and Pastor Mike convicted in his heart, saying, this isn't right. We have a First Amendment and we have a right to worship, and the government can't come in and tell us that you cannot pray with someone and lay hands on them, especially when at the time people were not, mass dying from COVID. They were dying from suicide. Kids were being abused by their abusers, locked in homes. It was a horrible time. And so Mike is standing and continues to stand, and we're standing with him 5 years later. And last Friday, we filed a petition with the U.S. Supreme Court because the California court system has failed us, and they issued $1.2 million in fines, upheld those fines because the county of Santa Clara has fined this church, and the courts agreed to uphold those fines. Although, they started out at $4 million, we got them down substantially. But here we are today, and a church is being fined. It's not much different than what we're seeing in South Korea right now, where you have just a lot of craziness going on over there with this new president over there. We got to be careful here in the United States.
Yes, we do. So let's unpack this a little bit further. The petition that you just referenced that you filed with the Supreme Court asking them to resolve some urgent constitutional questions. Unpack that a little bit further. What specifically are the constitutional issues at stake here?
What's at stake is the fact that under the Free Exercise Clause of our United States Constitution, back in 1990, Justice Scalia actually gave us this pretty bad interpretation of the Free Exercise Clause. And we've had some development positively, and frankly, if the California courts had applied the law as the U.S. Supreme Court gave us some interpretation back 5 years ago, and the California courts applied it properly, we wouldn't be here today. But they didn't apply it that way. And basically what it said, look, you can't go around and allow Costco to remain open and liquor stores and these places where you can have people go and nude dancing and all these other places that are open, not allow churches to remain open. And we're saying the same thing. And here they're trying to say, well, this is about masks. You have to be wearing masks. And Pastor Mike's saying, look, I'm a pastor. I'm not the mask police. If people want to come in and worship, We're going to allow them to come in and worship.
Right.
And so, we're saying that the government shouldn't have the right to be able to step in and dictate how people are worshiping.
Bob, let me stop you there. Got less than a minute.
Yeah.
Great answer there. But one other question. This is not just about a single church in California. This could potentially have much further reaching implications. Real quickly, is that true? What's the case there?
Yeah, what we're asking for is we're actually asking for the court to take another look at this, how the court analyzes free exercise, and actually go back to how it used to look at the free exercise clause even before it did in the early 1990s, when actually the free exercise clause meant much more. It had so much more strength to it. Because in the early 1990s, the court really weakened the free exercise clause. Now, and basically what happened is they weakened it so that government had a lot more leverage over churches and the free exercise of religion. We're trying to give the leverage back to the free exercise of religion and take it away from the government.
Thank you, Bob Tyler, President and Chief Counsel of Advocates for Faith and Freedom. Incredibly important case. Thank you for breaking that down for us here on Washington Watch.
Thanks, Jody.